We might just be live. Let's see. We're still connecting, I think, on Restream. It says there is a connecting thing. Oh, and we might just be live. I think we are live now, team. Welcome, everyone. I think we're live. I think we're going. So, hopefully we are. Welcome to episode 49. 49. A fine year. We
7
are
times 7.
We are a boomer in WatchHaus years.
Oh my god.
Going right back to it. We're picking up right back from last episode. Yikes. So I'm Connor Knutson, as always, joined by the faithful crew. We're finally back together. We've been traveling, doing a bunch of fun stuff. Zach and Mallory are here. What up, crew?
Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Greetings. So we are coming off a pretty crazy week in the Overwatch League, as it turns out. So this episode is titled Greetings from Upset City. Also, alternate title, Stage 4, Week 2, is a ladder, not a pit. Because this week was just chaos, if you get the Game of Thrones reference. So, before we get into all that, we have to do what we always do in the show, reset our watch, and then we will jump right into all of the fun, nonsense action that was Week 2. So, Mallory, I'll let you start us off. What have you been up to?
You know, doing this and that and that and this. I have been writing a lot. I wrote, actually, this is what I'm really proud of, so I'm going to advertise for myself for 1 second. Yes. I wrote basically an entire guide on 222.
Yes, this was so good. I actually love this piece. So important.
That's so nice.
God.
So, yeah, I explained the whole dang thing about what it means, what heroes you're going to see, what heroes you're not going to see, like how teams are doing, which players you're going to see more of and less of, etc. and etc. I think I just tweeted it like an hour ago, like retweeted it. So you can go check that out, because that is something I'm really proud of that I did last week.
Yes, it's really good. So this is Nick, our head of esports at the Game House, also wrote a How to Watch Overwatch 101 piece that's really important for new viewers. This is a piece I would recommend reading right after that. So you read how to watch the game, then you read this, and you figure out like what is happening in the game. Like, what does 222 mean? What is this nomenclature that gets thrown around? There's so many like words and phrases. I just linked the article in the chat that we're talking about, by the way. There's so many words and phrases in esports we use oftentimes that just get completely... They're so inaccessible to new viewers. And so this is a really important, good kind of piece. So Mallory, well done on this. Really like it. You also did a piece on Brigitte recently, right? That was pretty good?
Yeah, I wrote a whole thing about what's happening with Brig, because our lovely coworker Jaren covered all of her changes that are coming out. Yeah. Sigma gets in the game, Brig's rework is going live. So I basically just talked about how that rework is going to affect her playtime on stage, because she was such a huge part of votes. She was, low-key. So with this rework, it's going to be interesting to see who plays her, because it'll be a support now, not a flex DPS.
Right.
It'll be interesting. It was a good look to see like where she could be, what maps we could see her on, who she could be paired with, or if she's actually just not going to be played anymore, or lesser than she was before, because before she was a must pick in every single game. So.
Yeah, super interesting. I'll track that down as well. Well, Zach, what have you been up to recently?
Busy as heck. Haven't gotten as many articles in as I would have liked. Can't tell you the last time I actually wrote one. But you know, we're here to watch house and all that good stuff. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. And you've been traveling, though, right? You've been like busy.
Yeah, I've been doing stuff out the wazoo. It's a busy summer, and it's only gonna get busier in the fall.
Yeah, I feel you.
But yeah, I mean, gotta follow my Gladiator boys. 2-2 is not a awful result in this stage, as we'll see some of the other teams that have lost to some teams that maybe they wouldn't have in the past, as we'll talk about later in the episode.
Yes. Good stuff. We'll look forward to, when you get settled in eventually. I know you're moving and traveling and stuff. Looking forward to more articles, man. Always. Love your stuff. So, I've been writing a crap ton as well. A bunch of stuff. I'm preparing to go on vacation next week. Me and Crystal are going to New Mexico and Colorado for a week, so that'll be really fun. We're going to do some hiking, just like hanging out in Santa Fe and stuff, road tripping over there, so that'll be super fun. So in the meantime, I'm just writing a bunch, just trying to get kind of ahead for that and ready for it. So been doing some like champ guides for TFT, trying to. It's like learning another language, learning another esport and game. It feels like when you get so ingrained into one. So I'm trying to learn TFT, although I keep like calling the champs heroes and all this other like using. I don't know. I keep mixing up the nomenclature like crazy. So I'm trying to tell them to go goats in TFT, and it's not working. So yeah. So but yeah, we're just right into that other stuff. A lot of just general Overwatch stuff, and then Overwatch League stuff when I can. So yeah, it's all good all around. Again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to get into the real meat of the show now, and we're going to start you off. We usually like to go through the scores of the games, just kind of run through them. We're going to talk about a lot of those games, especially the important ones right now, or in the coming feature segment. But before we get to that, we have to talk about our WatchHaus Player of the Week, sponsored by Zach. What is it sponsored by this week?
The many hats that sit upon my desk.
The many hats that sit upon Zach's desk bring you the WatchHaus Player of the Week this week. Rolling in from our many other sponsors that we've acquired, like Farmercy Airlines and Peaches. So the many hats on Zach's desk say that the WatchHaus Player of the Week is none other than Corey from the Washington Justice. We could pick no one better. Corey popped off this week, guys. Absolutely.
Corey was in the house.
Corey
was in the house. Kyle Massey would be proud.
Absolutely. All right. So, if you guys didn't know, the Washington Justice beat the Vancouver Titans in a crazy series at the end of the week that is kind of where we're getting a lot of this Corey hype from. Other than that, I don't know. I forget the beginning part of the week. I forgot if Washington even... They did. They beat the Florida Mayhem. That's right. I forgot that was even this week. Wow. Yikes. It's been a long weekend. But yeah, so Washington had a great week. They're one of the only undefeated teams right now, and a lot of that is from Corey. He's just been a hardcore carry on the hit scan roll. Stratus has also been popping off on May and stuff like that. So we had to give it to Corey this week. Yeah, I mean, let's just jump right into our segment, all right, guys? So our segment tonight is called For Real. And this is like F''real. Like, I think they're like those milkshakes that are frozen that you can get at the gas stations. It might just be a Texas thing. All right.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Never mind. All right. Cool. So that's my naming of the segment is totally regional and not relatable. Very cool. So this is called For Real or Fluke. Fluke. Which upsets from the weekend should we take seriously and which should we just call flukes? I'm going to just say there are four major ones. We're going to go through each of the four. The first one is maybe not as major. We're going to go through all four of these and say whether we think it's a fluke or for real and defend our case. And we'll kind of just do it one by one. So we'll start off. Toronto took down the Shanghai Dragons 2-1 to start off the week, and it was on Thursday. Is this, Zach, is this a for real? Toronto's better than Shanghai? Or is this a fluke? Did Shanghai just play real bad?
I think of the ones we're going to talk about, this is the closest, but I will still put it under the fluke category.
All right. Why is it a fluke?
I mean, I think that Toronto are building a really good team for 2-2-2, and I think that they will continue to improve not only this stage, but next season. We'll see them kind of go back to where they were in stage one of this season. But, I mean, Shanghai is allowed to lose games. I think a lot of people are putting them in this category of they just won a stage. They just won a stage playoff, so they can't lose to anyone now. Like, I think that's a bit unfair, and I think you gotta kind of sit back and realize that, like, yeah, Shanghai are really good now. They're not the Shanghai of last season. They are not the team with no wins. They win now, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to take every game. You look at San Francisco last stage, they dropped some games. You look at the Titans, they dropped their first ones, but people didn't say that the Valiant were for real in that moment. But
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Interesting. Mallory, what about you? Is this a for real or fluke?
I mean, I think I kind of agree with Zach. Like, because I like Toronto, and even against Philly, that game was closer than it should have been. was like the score said 3-1, but I watched that game. That went to map 5. Of course it did. It was Philly. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Good.
And like that game was also really close. So Toronto is taking these teams that are good to the brink in this new meta because guess what? They have Mr. Logics. They
do
have
have Mr.
Yeah.
Logic.
and Gods is popping off now. Like
Yeah.
they have a good roster that suits this meta, and I think arguably maybe not the best, but one of the best DPS duos. Mr. Logix does Mr. Logix things, and he's so good at it.
Yeah.
And Mangachu is Mangachu. Mangachu can play anything. He plays everything and anything. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard because Shanghai also just looking really shaky in this meta. They're used to playing 3-2-1. And they can't really decide on who they want on the off tank. I think it should be Geggery because she's playing better than Envy, but
I think her Hog's better.
Yeah, her Roadhog is better. The frog hog, whatever they want to call it, Road Frog.
Yeah.
It's but I don't know. Like that one could really go either way for me. It's pretty much down the middle because it's a combination of Toronto being really good in this meta and Shanghai also not figuring it out yet.
Yeah, this one's the toughest one for me, like you guys said. This is also the only one we're going to talk about that wasn't a sweep, like a 0. There wasn't a 0 in the other team's win category. This was relatively close. I'm going to say, though, that this is for real. So here's the deal, guys. I'm becoming a Toronto fan very quickly because of Gods and Mangachu and Logix, because I think they're building a team. A team full of players with tons of experience, tons of really rich experience. They have, I think, among the smartest DPS line in the league as far as game sense and experience playing the game. Mangachu and Logix. And I mean, people forget God's been around forever. I mean, this is one of the OG Overwatch players back in, Apex, Jurassic Park days. Back when they were still playing on, I don't know, Atari. He's a seasoned pro, and so he's a really smart guy. I think he's going to be like a super huge boon for this team, a big leader. So Toronto's kind of won my heart, and I think that, I think it's for real, and they're better than Shanghai this week. So the case for that for me is that I think Shanghai put all their eggs in Stage 3's basket. They wanted to perfect the Sombra Goats and win Stage 3. We talked about this, I think, on a previous episode of the show. So I think they did that, and they pulled it off. But what that did was I think they spent less time prepping for 2-2-2, and so they're just coming into it stumbling a little bit, which is fair. I think we're seeing other teams have the same issue. I think Toronto spent a lot of their, maybe more so, or their smarter players adapted quicker. But I think they also could have just spent more time preparing for 2-2-2. So I think right now they actually are just a better team on paper overall. I think, if this game would have happened in week 4, and you give Shanghai 2 more weeks to be ready, I think it could be a very different result, personally. I think Shanghai is going to continue to understand how to do 2-2-2 with their system, how to make their DPS line work with their rotation and figure out the Gigery Envy thing. So I think they're going to be a really good team, but I think for right now, Toronto's for real, at least in my mind.
That's fair.
Yeah, so let's jump to the next one. We got this one. I think this was the first really jarring upset of the weekend. And this is the Florida Mayhem 3-0ing the defending Overwatch League champion London Spitfire 3-0. 3-0 for Florida Mayhem. Mallory, I have to throw it to you first because this is very on brand for you. And is this for real or a fluke or something else?
I'll tell you what it is. It's Ace's Honk is what it is.
Ace's Honk. Can we get some Ace's Honk in the chat, please?
Please get some Ace's Honk in the chat because this is how I feel all the time. So I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again quick. When London is playing, you literally do not know what team is going to show up that day. You don't know. Because sometimes they look like, oh yeah, maybe this is the team that won last year. That's interesting. And then this happens, and then you're like, oh wait, they got the clown shoes on, and they're honking all over the stage. Honk, honk. So obviously, my gut says this is for real. Because I don't understand London. I don't think I ever will. And that's all right. just don't know if this is Florida getting lucky because they've had these weird decisive wins before. Like remember when they won against Houston?
Yeah.
I was like, that was a decisive win.
Yeah.
That was pretty easy to say like, oh, well, yeah, London. I mean, Florida's doing well. And right now, like beforehand, people could just be like, well, of course Florida's going to do somewhat well. Saya player's there, and he's a god. But now it feels like they're actually kind of like maybe setting up a team that works well together and is like doing well. I think Fate was a really good start for that because I've been a Fate fan for forever as a Valiant. So I think that actually they're maybe just starting to find the pieces that work. And in this meta, they're just since like Justice, they don't really have anything to play for the time. So I think that they're just putting that energy into their games, and then it's getting good results. They're actually doing well.
Interesting. Zach, what about you? Is this for real Fluke or Aces Honk?
This is absolutely a fluke.
Okay.
No Aces Honk on this side. I completely agree with what Mallory said, though, that when London takes the stage, you have no clue what team is going to show up.
Yeah.
But that dates all the way back to the very first week of the very first Overwatch League season.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to win stage 1 and then survive on mediocrity until they were one of the last seeded teams in the playoff and then decide they were going to pop off. No one knows how they do it. No one knows how it happened, but they're just so inconsistent. And if you also look at Florida's schedule so far this stage, they played the Titans, which obviously you're going to get 4-0'd. Maybe not as obviously as we thought, but everyone's like, oh yeah, Florida's going to lose. And then with how strong Washington has been, getting beaten by Washington, you have to think that of the 3 games, because you don't know what London's going to show up, that London was probably their easiest game out of the 3.
That's crazy to say, but yeah, I see what you're getting at.
It's crazy to say that the champions are the easiest team, but they're always so inconsistent, and they released their coach pretty recently too.
Yeah.
They got rid of Coach 815.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that London will find their footing again. Currently, they are in one of the spots for an automatic playoff spot. I think they're in the
they're fifth, I think.
They're in the 6th seed.
6th, okay.
Them and the Gladiators are tied. Gladiators have a better map differential.
Okay.
But I mean, London is going to get into the playoffs one way or another, whether it be through one of those automatic spots or through the plan. I think if they get in the plan, they'll probably show up then. But yeah, I just don't think that this is for real. This is definitely a fluke.
That's fair. I wrote fluke on our Google Doc of planning this episode, and I still think it's a fluke. I think overall, I think London's the better team, I guess. But what even is being a good team anymore? I guess I don't know.
True.
I think London has a higher ceiling, but I think they have a clearly lower floor than Florida. And I don't want to spend all of this discussion just talking about how London blew it. I actually think Florida popped off this game. You brought up Fate. I think Fate's a good person to bring up. I think bringing up Gargoyle, big shout out to Sam and chat. Gargoyle is this very slept-on player for this team, and Sam was kind of the first person I heard advocating for him, being our Florida expert here at the Game House. Good on him for knowing that and being ahead of it. Because Gargoyle has been, not that he's been the glue that's holding this team together. I'm not going to give him quite that much credit, but he's definitely come in and filled a role that they were lacking at and having problems with. And I think Florida is better than people have thought of them in the past. I think that there are quite a few teams I would put below Florida as if I were to just head-to-head matchup right now. And I think it also, this win, I think it speaks a lot to the Justice's 3-2 over them at the beginning of the week and how good the Justice really are. So 2-2-2 has really shaken up things.
Shaken up the entirety of the Overwatch League.
Yeah, and so while I want to say this is a fluke, I think if they played it again, if they ran it back, I think London could win and probably should. But when I watched the game, I think the reason they lost is and this is not to be insulting to Florida, but I really don't think London cared. Jester was like cracking up every time they went to his face cam. Even when they went to the locker room down 2-0, they were like cutting it up as they were going to the locker room. And that, like, as a fan of a league that I'm watching for a competitive experience, really actually made me mad. Like, I was very frustrated here watching it. And so, like, when Bren came out at halftime and was like, baby rage, I was right there with him. Like, I was like, what are they doing? Like, they're a better team than this. Like, their Volskaya was arguably the worst map any Overwatch League team has, I don't know about ever played, but is the worst map played in a long time by a team. And London's clearly a higher caliber team than that, and I think they just kind of took the day off and didn't really care. They're probably going to make playoffs, like you said, Zach. So this game really like hurt my London fandom. It wasn't already super high. I like Prophet a lot in Birdring, but this team really upset me. So I would love to see them come back next week with a really fiery, competitive drive. I really hope we see that because I was actually personally very disappointed in London. But I'll get out my soapbox in London. I don't want to rag on them too hard.
They'll do it again. They'll win the whole league again.
Yeah, honestly,
it'll be fun.
God. Okay. Our next upset, one has led us to our WatchHaus MVP, brought to you by the hats on Zach's desk. The Washington Justice 4-0ing the Vancouver Titans. This was, I think, definitely the most shocking, just because of how dominant Vancouver's been. But Washington's also, like we said, looked really good. So this for real or fluke is pretty tough. Zach, I'll let you start us off. Is this for real or is this a fluke?
This is absolutely for real. There are 3 teams that are undefeated in Stage 2, and Washington is one of them. It's really sad that 2-2-2 came at the time that it did, if you're a Justice fan, because I think that if 2-2-2 was there earlier, Justice would be making a playoff run right now. But it's all too little too late. I think that Washington really didn't build for a GOATS meta. They kind of built for a, like, let's survive GOATS meta. It didn't work out so well. But they have shown so far that they can really do it when it counts in this 2-2-2. I mean, they took on Toronto, and they took on Florida, and they took on the Titans, which, like, two of those other teams are ones that we talked about for having upsets earlier in the week. And so I think that this is absolutely for real, and that Washington are going to be very dangerous.
Gotcha. Mallory, are you on the Washington hype train?
Oh, I've been there.
Oh, she's been there.
I've been on the Washington hype train. This is absolutely for real.
Okay.
This is what happens when you let Corey play something that's not Zarya, first of all. Because even on Zarya, he couldn't carry. He was trying so hard. However, now in this meta in 2-2-2 with him and Stratus being able to just do DPS things and have fun, like it has really nothing to do with their gameplay, or maybe it does, but like seeing how happy they are all the time and how positive they are, just
very real thing.
The first 3 stages for them have been absolutely garbage, is so inspiring. Like, this is why people like the Washington Justice. They are so happy, they're so positive, they love their fans, and they love their community so much. So it seems so fitting that they're doing so well right now. And I definitely think that this is something that people should be worried about next season. You are in the same league or the same bracket as the Washington Justice, which I think is the Atlantic South bracket. You should be worried. Yeah. Before, people were like, oh, whatever, it's just the Washington Justice. But now people should be scared.
They should also be scared going to Washington.
Yes, they have 5 homestands.
Yeah, they sure do. So, like, I don't know. I'm so happy for them. Like, and I watched that game. I watched the entirety of that game. And it wasn't that London had not London. That Vancouver had a bad day. It wasn't that at all. The Washington Justice are just playing so well.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, they must have just practiced, and they worked so well together now. Like, their synergy is so good.
Yeah. They're making
group plays. Like, everything just seems to be falling into place. And for Vancouver, who's still trying to figure out what to do, it's free real estate.
Yeah, I agree with so many things you said. So I'm gonna just piggyback off of all of them in some order that comes to mind. So I'm very for real on this. I'm for real on it to the degree though that I think not that Vancouver's a bad team, that Washington's a good team. That these are both two very good teams. I think they're both top 10 in the league as far as their overall strength right now. So let's caveat that's the thing. I really want to say I also think Washington's very scary in 2020. I think all of the, or at least two of the teams with 5 homestands are going to be very scary. Them and Guangzhou. Those are going to be two very difficult atmospheres to play in, I have a feeling. I think those are two teams that have really done well with their home markets and their fans, and have great personality on the team, especially now with Fraggy and Bishu on Guangzhou. So those are two very scary teams next year. We will be talking about that for the next several months, I'm sure. But yeah, I think this is an important thing, and I think Mallory made a really good point that's very, very, very important, actually, is that Washington is having fun. So they're walking up on stage, they're high-fiving, they're having a good time, they're enjoying their craft. And we have seen in the past when teams burn out in Stage 4 and aren't enjoying what they're doing anymore, they play a lot worse. And I feel like we're seeing that across the league in some different teams. I'm going to point one out big time is the Hangzhou Spark. I think the Spark, with the issues with Crystal and everything else going on, maybe it being a Chinese team and not a Chinese team, but Chinese culture. We saw this with Shanghai in Season 1 with overworking players. I didn't know if that would be a more rampant thing. I think Hangzhou is really going to struggle if their players aren't happy. Not saying they are, I don't know anything about that, but it seems like that could be a thing. Washington, on the other hand, is a team that's sucked all year, more or less, and partially because of goats. But now they're playing great and their players are enjoying themselves. And this is, I'll point back to the Fusion last season. That was one of the best orgs in the league who took care of their players the best. And they made the playoff run when other teams were burning out and fizzling out. So the player morale is a really good point, Mallory, and I'm really glad you made that point.
Philly did lose, though.
They did lose.
I just need to point that out.
Yes. But they made it to the finals. That is pretty crazy.
They did.
Considering the field. But other than that, I had another point. I'm actually just totally blanking on it. Rip. But it was a good one. Yeah, I actually can't remember what I was going to say, and that is just absolutely tragic. I think I just totally lost it, fam.
Tragic.
A big F in the chat for that one. Yeah, so, gosh, if it comes to me, I will make... Oh, no, okay, here it is. Sorry. Oh, a lot of thoughts. About this. So I think this is for real, and I'm for real on the Washington roster. I'm not for real on the coaching. So Surefour tweeted out yesterday or something that teams had no idea that the 2-2-2 roster lock was coming before the season started. So there would be no way that a team could build for that roster lock starting off. So I don't think the Justice were building preseason for 2-2-2. I think that they happened into a really good 2-2-2 roster that has now come together and is popping off. So I would credit the players a lot more than I would credit Wizard Chong, for example. I think a lot of the Washington organization is really good. Like Grant Paranjape, who's been on the show, firm believer in his. I think that they are making really good strides for next season and made good strides to get ready for Stage 4, like with getting sleepy and stuff like that. But I am just not sold on Wizard Chong just yet. I don't know that he is the cog that's making this all work. But that's probably another rant for another time. That's not really have anything to do with the upset. Sorry. Last one, before we get to our next segment, is the Chengdu Hunters 4-0ing the NYXL. As I think Chase was saying in chat, this is one that some people actually were calling. Not like a 4-0, but a defeat of NYXL. I saw like Volmel said it'd be a 3-2. A lot of analysts were saying this would be a Chengdu win. With that in mind, Mallory, is this a for real or Fluke for the Chengdu Hunters?
It's for real.
Okay.
Chengdu is basically... What I like about Chengdu is that regardless of what stage we're in, what meta is real, what's not, they just kind of do whatever they want and have a good time. And I can respect that. As, a fan, it's fun to just watch a team say, you know what, screw it. Let's just play this because we're good at this and let's just see what happens. Let's throw some spaghetti at the wall. Yeah. And it's really enjoyable to watch. And New York, I had a really good conversation about this earlier with a couple of our coworkers. And what's really important to note is that New York is not bad. And the jokes about New York sandbagging or whatever, I don't think that's the case either. What I think is the case for New York, and what I think is the case for some other teams that are struggling with DPS, like Houston and like Philly in terms of Carpe, is Sabiolbi has been benched for so long, and then they just threw him in trying to play Sombra when he's not really a Sombra player. He's a Tracer specialist.
That's a good point.
But guess what? Like, Tracer's not meta. So what are they? They're trying to have him play like, or like play Mei. It's not working. And the issue that that's like the main issue that they're facing is that they have these star DPS players, and their biggest star, Sabiolbi, doesn't know what he's doing, and it shows. Because I think that team still has some of the best players of all time. Mono is a god. Mono is a main tank for the gods.
Yes.
But when the DPS can't follow up and work alongside them, it doesn't work. It's not sticking. And Chengdu's always had super strong DPS who have been playing DPS all season long and doing whatever they wanted.
Yeah, that's true.
So this was for real. Chengdu's better at this meta, better at adapting. And NYXL, they're already seeded. They're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think they're sandbagging, and I think that's like an outdated joke. I just think that they need more practice. Or maybe just, I don't know, play Pine. See what happens. If McCree's...
That's so true.
Just play Pine. Just see.
He can play Hanzo, surely. I mean, come on.
He can do anything he wants. He's Pine.
It's true.
Just let him do what he wants. That's, I don't know. It's definitely for real. Chengdu's too good for people to say that this New York sandbagging. It's not. It ain't right.
Gotcha. I like those ideas a lot. Zach, you disagree or agree?
I completely agree. I mean, I think it's not fair to say that New York are a bad team, and I don't think anyone's calling for saying New York is a bad team. They lost to Atlanta twice while Atlanta was not doing so hot earlier in the season. There are just some teams that like things don't click with, or the other team just clicks so well. And yeah, Chengdu are in the spot of we have to win games or we are not making it into the playoffs. New York are at a spot of we're in the playoffs. At most, what's going to happen is we're going to go up one or two like seeds. Like that's it. And so I think that Chengdu was just kind of more focused, more had this mentality of like, this needs to go our way, and so we're not going to think about what's going to happen if it doesn't. And I think New York really needs to kind of take a look at the roster that they have, and as Mallory was saying, the DPS players that they have, and just try something new, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why not? At this point, when you don't have anything to lose, while you're just waiting for playoffs pretty much, this is the time to experiment against teams that, people are going to make a big deal out of if you lose, but this would be the time to do it. It's better to lose now than to pull an NYXL and lose in the playoffs.
Yes. You guys are both really smart, so you made all the points I was going to make. I totally agree. I think that the point you just made, Zach, about the do or die for Chengdu, I think this is the factor of this game. So Chengdu are in a position where they had 4 games left. New York, the Shock, and 2 more winnable games. But the Shock was like kind of the scary game on the schedule. And they needed to win 3 of the 4 of those games to secure a playoff spot, probably. Pending some craziness or the Valiant totally winning out. There's a few scenarios that get in the way of that. But that's most likely what they're looking at. And so for them, New York was a game that they had to win. To give themselves a 1-game cushion against the Shock or just a fluke against the other 2 teams, they have to win this game. So I think they go in very much with that mentality. I totally agree. I think they had that same mentality when they played the Gladiators. When Jinzu was making that last-second flank on Junkertown, I think that is an all-in, like, they're not just giving up. They're not just rolling over in that game when they easily could have. So this is definitely a team that's fighting, and they have to get in. So that's a huge point to keep in mind when you're watching any Hunters game, any Valiant game, any Reign game, Outlaws, Fuel. Like, those teams at least should be giving everything they have every single map. New York is in a position, like you guys pointed out, where they can experiment with some things. I mean, Flower, that's an experiment. Kind of a failed one. Yikes on the EMP time there, buddy. I think it took like 3 minutes, which I think I usually get EMPs that fast in Plat.
It was like 3.5.
Yeah, so that's like almost the passive volt charge time of an EMP just up. So that's pretty bad, as it turns out. So I think they are experimenting, and I think I guess, might as well. You need to get this figured out before playoffs. That's fine. I would rather them just do that than stick with 2 DPS that aren't working game after game after game. So I appreciate that at least. But yeah, I don't think New York is a bad team either. I don't think they're as good as some of the elite teams. I think they're kind of in a maybe second or third tier, but should be competitive in playoffs, at least to a certain degree. So yeah, more or less I agree with everything you guys said. That moves us into, we kind of want to look at the bigger picture. So one thing that has been kind of controversial in the Overwatch community this year, Overwatch League community specifically, is the kind of the award season and how it's all been handled. So we have, on the one hand, the end of season awards have just been announced, and those are like the Dennis Helveka Award. They have the Roll Stars Award, which was kind of out of left field. There's been some criticism about some awards that have been left out. Like, there's no seventh man, there's no like comeback player, there's no coach of the year. So there's just been, and then that's one side of it. And then the MVP stuff has obviously been dogged on because we're basically just voting on the MVP of stages 1 and 2. And we're in a completely different world now. It feels like Janu was good so long ago, like that he would be in the conversation. Sinatra has stayed semi-relevant. Twilight's relevant. But those are kind of the only two. Like, Super plays some games, sits some others. You wouldn't want an MVP that is benched for 2 games out of a 5-game set. So there's been a lot of issues with the awards, is what we're trying to get at. So what we thought we'd do here on the show is give you so far, because the Overwatch League voted on the season through stages 1 and 2, we thought we'd vote on stage 4 through weeks 1 and 2. So we're going to crown our stage 4 MVPs, is what all this was leading up to. Wow, lots of context. Zach, being a completely non-biased Los Angeles Gladiators fan, who is your stage 4 MVP?
I am going to shock both of you and not go with what I have written down on the document.
No!
And I am going to give it to a non-DPS player.
Good on you, by the way.
And I'm going to give it to JoeKnack for a second year running.
Wow. Okay. I
think that he is still one of the most influential players in the league. I think that he consistently tops what everyone's expectations are of him, even after becoming MVP last year. He has not dipped in performance, I don't think. Even in a meta where there's not these big plays that a Zenyatta is able to pull out, he is still able to show that he is the best Zenyatta player in the league. For everyone else watching, I did have Decay on there because I think he has been absolutely incredible for the Gladiators.
Yeah.
I think he got robbed of a spot in Team South Korea.
Interesting.
And I think that, easily he is the MVP for the Gladiators this season, Rookie of the Year, and I would not be shocked if he is Rookie of the Year for the entire Overwatch League. You look back all the way to Stage 1 when the Gladiators were just absolutely awful, bottom of the league, and then Decay turned 18 and everything looked up from there.
Yeah, it changed. Yeah.
It was insane. And I also had written down Surefour. I think he has really shown. They started to play him last stage again, letting him play Brig, letting him play well at Brig, and play some other stuff like his Bastion. But he is one of the most flexible players in the league, and I think that is being showcased here in Stage 4 with the multitude of heroes that he has run and will probably continue to run. I think that he deserves that starting spot for the Gladiators, and depending on the next couple weeks, could put in some MVP caliber performance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like the spicy JoeKnack take, though. Very interesting. Very interesting. Mallory, who is your Stage 4 MVP through 2 weeks?
I have 2 of them.
Okay.
For 2 different reasons. And I'm going to say the first one, which is obvious, and everyone... You know what? I am creative because Corey deserves it. Corey is so good, first
Mad
of all.
lad.
So good at Overwatch. I can't count how many times out loud yesterday did I say, Corey is so good at this game. Because Corey's so good at this game.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't get on Team USA, I'm about to start a riot.
Oof.
So, this is me speaking it out into the world. If you don't put Corey on Team USA, you're dummies. You're dum-dums.
Dum-dums.
Yeah, Corey's like Stratus right now. We're definitely the heart and soul of the Justice, but previously when Stratus was benched for most of the time, it was still Corey. Corey's like the heart of the Washington Justice. He's so nice. He's so dedicated to what he does.
Yeah.
It's just great to see. You love to see it. On the other side of it, for the memes, if I could give a stage 4 MVP award to somebody who just makes me giggle and has a great time, it has to be Gods.
Yes. Oh my God. Just for his Twitter.
We love God.
Gosh.
Oh my God. First Twitter. I want to give his Twitter the MVP.
Yeah, that's
award.
so true. Actually, holy cow.
That video he posted of himself in the Shrek mask walking towards the mirror.
So that.
When I tell you, I laughed out loud for 30 minutes. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
There's something about him that is just so enjoyable and memeable, and I want to give his Twitter an award. I don't know if we can do that on Overwatch League. Maybe you want to hire me, and like we can set up some awards for people's social media accounts, because like, you know, I'm trying to give God some respect. His memes are straight fire. He dropped one today, and it was hysterical.
Yes, it was like it was the Shanghai players talking about how Toronto's would be the easiest win. Oh my gosh. Like, yes, I totally agree. So Gods is actually turning me into a Toronto fan. I also love their alt jerseys, which I feel like a lot of people hate. But I love like the We Are Six and black and white aesthetic. I like they're focusing on the black and white more than the black and red. That's a whole nother issue. So yes.
But black and red is just such a good.
It's good, but it's overplayed.
It is not overplayed when it's that good.
Those are my high school colors. It's overplayed.
Anyway,
some of the best sneakers in the game.
That's true.
I say as I look at my massive wall of sneakers.
And like Chicago Bulls, like I get it. But I'm a big like black and white. Almost everything I have is black and white. Wearing white shorts. You know, can't show that because you know my toes could get in the shot. Anyway, so my God, that was, whew. Stage 4 MVPs. That's what we're talking about, right? That's what the people came here for. Okay, very cool. So my Stage 4 MVP was Corey, but then Mallory typed, "You took mine, Connor. How dare you?" So I changed it. But when I looked at everything, when I looked at the data out there, I have landed on Erster is my Stage 4 MVP. So here's the deal, guys. Atlanta's good. Atlanta's like actually good. We need to all accept that. Everyone needs to accept it.
They have the power of Twitch Prime.
DeFran launched them into another stratosphere that they have still not come down from. They're still riding high on the DeFran high. Not really. But yes, I think Atlanta's really good. And I think that is in huge part due to Erster. I just don't think you can deny the carry. I'm not taking anything away from the other DPS, Baby Bay and Inlayer. I think they're both extremely good as well. And I think there are players on the team that are also really good. Where's Daco is a thing again. But in that midst, like FRD has popped off too. Like he had an incredible Force C9 against Paris this weekend. That was really, really neat. He's getting better. But I think that Erster is still the carry on this team. Before he got into the Overwatch League, he was almost always going to be good. He's just been a god, and he was a god in contenders, and he's come on to the scene and is finally doing what he can do, and has just been incredible for them. So, I would, if I had to crown a Stage 4 MVP, it would be him or Corey, but I think you can make a case for a few different players. Social media account, it would definitely be Gods or Stratus, though. Like, those two have just been amazing. So, yes, agree with that. Hardcore. So, you know, we're coming to the end of the show. This is usually where we go through the latest news. The biggest news lately, though, has been the upsets. Like, those were kind of the news of the league this weekend. So we're going to talk about something that's been kind of news over the last few weeks. And that's the Overwatch World Cup rosters that have been slowly kind of coming out. There have been some reveals, some really good social media, just some pretty surprising rosters coming through the pipeline. So We're each going to just highlight one or two teams real quick that we would either say to look out for. As a blanket statement, look out for South Korea. None of us have to say it, but they're going to win. So this discussion is important, but they're still going to win. So we can all just kind of enjoy that moving into the...
Who wants second place?
Yes, this is basically our second place conversation. So, Mallory, I'll throw it to you first. What is a team that you like or just has been standing out to you so far in the World Cup building process?
I got you. So far, it definitely looks like I'm showing my undying support at Team UK.
Ooh.
Their rosters it speaks to me. The roster announcements were hysterical. Anybody that can get Dino Flask to do a roster announcement for them, automatically my favorite team. They're doing. I like everything about them. Like Bad Patch Mari is the community lead. I was already in. And now, the roster's coming out. They have really good players. They have a good mix of people from contenders, people from Overwatch League, some players like Funny Astro. I think he's a streamer with the Rain. Gets to play on the stage, and it's a lot of people that are good friends who got to play together last year, playing together again, like Fusion and Boombox and Kib and Cruz. They're all really good friends, and they like to play together, and I think that's great. Especially Fusions and Cruz are so happy to be playing together, and it makes me happy. It warms my little heart. I have feelings sometimes, and it warms my little heart to see that happen. So that's where I'm at. I support Team UK. I hope they can do well. They did well last year, so we go again.
We go again. Yeah, I think that the UK, the lads just seem very connected for that country. That's a team with a lot of good national pride that I think is pretty healthy. And their social media has been pretty fire. I think they're one of my top three just running good social media groups right now. So big fan of them as well. The hot tub thing with Sideshow and Fusions was just god tier. And I'm glad they brought in Crook. They're doing so many things right. They're bringing in the community, activate your local. God, it's just all so good. So, lost for words. Zach, what is your standout team to keep an eye out for?
I don't think it can be the UK because of their amazing last year. I think the teams are going to actually have them on the radar instead of the USA just being we'll get through this game, it's fine. I think that it is finally time for Team Canada to put a very good performance in. Maybe it is because I love my boy Surefour so much. Maybe it is because I am still a fan of XQC after all these years and all his various endeavors. I just think it's incredible that someone who doesn't stick to playing Overwatch and just kind of does what he wants can just hop on and say, yeah, I'm going to try out for this team and become their main tank. Out of all of the Canadian main tanks, he's still the best one. And he just I bet if you go on right now, he's not streaming Overwatch.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that if he's still their best option, that can either say a lot about the other main tanks, or it just says a lot about the abilities of XQC. So I think that's going to be interesting. I also think it's going to be interesting this year because we've already seen so many players opt out of the World Cup. And so you'll get to see some different things. Shaz and Big Goose are not going to be the duo anymore. Shaz is playing for the World Cup. Big Goose is opted out of it.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. That's something we've seen across a few teams. Taimu and a lot of USA players have been opting out.
A lot of South Korea players.
Yeah. I definitely think Canada's going to be a solid contender this year. They're kind of just running it back, it seems like. They're just kind of, we go again. We try again with the same roster. Very in XUC fashion. So, my team to look out for, I have two. I can't not say Team Denmark because I was the Team Denmark advocate last year. Not the only one, but I was a big Denmark fan. # small country, big plays. And I'm going to be just as passionate this year because, one, my boy Fisher is on there. The most, sorry for the language, the most screwed player of any Contenders player of all time. Just kidding. There's been a lot of them. But he has had a really bad situation. And he's really good. Amazing for HSL. The rest of their DPS are amazing. You have Shax and Naga. That is a stacked DPS line. And in a meta where that seems like that's pretty important right now, pretty scary. Support, you have Kelix and Scalar. Really good support line as well. The tanks, I don't know as much about, I'm not going to lie. Henningsen is HSL's main tank, and then Molf just got signed by Hurricane. I think that's right. So I don't know as much about them, but I assume like Denmark is going to be good this year. I think they will be a team that works really well together, and definitely do not sleep on them. I think the team I want to give a shout out to, though, maybe even more than they're competing for my Danish heart here, and this is Team Ireland. This is the Irish Wolfhounds, dude, the Celtic Wolfhounds. They have been, of any team, and these are teams with really like a lot of professionals. Like Stylosa is with Team UK. This is like really famous in the Overwatch team people. Team Ireland's outdoing all of them on social media. I don't care what you say. They're better than UK. They're better than every single other team with these stacked famous people, and it's all Team Ireland. Clip this and show it to them. They are killing it. So if you please go follow Ireland's social media account. I honestly don't know any of the players. I'm going to though.
You have to know Scally.
Scally. I need to know Scally. Dang.
Scally and Young Scally, baby. Young Scally didn't make it, but he almost did. So you need to know the legend of Scally and Young Scally.
I have some research to do. But like, and on a semi for real note, like teams and orgs Triumph, I think, has proved this. So teams and orgs that are run seriously and take things seriously and are run professionally and put forth their best foot forward and have good internal communications are just better. I think they just run better. Everything's clear. There's streamlined communication. And people, if you have a really great image, the people on the team will be really proud of that. And Team Ireland has built this really incredible image that is super solid. And I think their players are going to own it. Like they're taking pictures on their Instagram with Celtic Wolfhounds the other day. Like, what the heck? Like, this is amazing. So I have to give a shout out to Team Ireland. You guys are awesome for watching this. If you're not, whatever. So yeah,
Send it to them.
Yeah,
Send them the
we
VOD.
need to find them, give this to them some way. But yeah, so that's kind of the bulk of our episode. We like to close things out with what we call our WatchHaus Words of Wisdom. We have come to deem this as just basically opening mic night at the bar. If you get a chance with the mic and you can say whatever you want. Last weekend I went after the boomers as an entire generation, which was a poor choice. And I don't think all boomers are bad people. I want to correct what I said last episode. I was mad that people were criticizing Fortnite esports, and I think we should be celebrating the rising tide, raising all ships. And I felt like it was just boomers being elitist and like, I don't like this other thing that's slightly different than my thing. Blah. So boomers are fine.
Why did you just turn into Waluigi?
Wow! Wow! Wow!
Someone in chat absolutely clipped.
Okay, so the boomers are going to be what is remembered from this episode again. Great. Okay, so thanks, Chase, in the chat. Appreciate that. Okay, open mic night. Who wants to go first? Anyone have anything to say today? In particular? Zach? I'll let you start. Zach, I'm going to call you out so I can quit talking.
All right, that's fine. All right. Even though I have many hats on my desk, some fit better one day over the next. You know, sometimes my hat will look good with a certain outfit. That being said, sometimes Washington pops off. Sometimes Florida wins games. You know, that's how it happens.
That's how it happens. It just sometimes it just happens that way. Sometimes it just be that way. Mallory, what is your word of wisdom for tonight?
Sorry, I'm still crying a little bit.
Yeah, that got out of hand quick.
I'm gonna say what I say every week.
Yes.
In between me crying because Connor is Waluigi. It's always a good time to be nice. Be nice to people. You might notice a shift in my content this week because I'm switching beats, and I'm stoked for it. Will be focusing more on the LA Valiant now. Those are my boys. Now me and Zach can be mortal rivals.
We're official rivals.
Officially rivals, yes.
So now WatchHaus the Kit Kat rivalry weekend every weekend.
Yes.
But yeah, this is just a great reminder that because I'm switching beats, be nice to people, because maybe, things don't have to happen the way that they do. It's interesting to think about it like that. So just be nice to people. Be nice to people.
Unless you're Connor and you're talking about the boomer.
Yeah, apparently Chad has really taken that to the next level.
Unless you're a you know what? Heck you. Old man yells at cloud. Heck
Frick.
you. Boomers.
So, both really good things. I appreciate the sentiments a ton for both of you. Mine this week, I've got a couple. I don't want to get too like heartfelt and serious, but first thing, I'm really passionate about this and always have been. But there are a lot of really good, hardworking people. One of them is in this chat with Chase. There are a lot of really, really good people supporting T2 Overwatch and contenders. And there's a lot of changes happening in Overwatch. And there's a lot of cool stuff happening in the game. But I feel like almost all that's done. Not all it's done. But something as a consequence of that is people just forget about contenders and the Gauntlet, like this crazy thing. Like that news came out about the Gauntlet, and I feel like it just totally slid under the radar. And that really sucks. And so I've been writing for a year now, and I'm getting more and more into the scene each day. And I really want to continue to promote and do everything I can to support and help people working in the T2 scene and everything like that. Because there's graphic designers in T2 that outclass Overwatch League graphics every single week. Just like in stuff they whip up. Like, Phase 1 graphics, like a Tier 3 team, are better than, like the Atlanta Reign's graphics. Which is pretty crazy to think about.
Throne.
Yeah, sorry Atlanta Reign, but get a graphic designer. Holy cow. They did just get a great director of content in Danny, so really good choice there. He's awesome. But this is just something like I really want to do more. I don't know how exactly I'm going to manifest it in my writing. I'm trying to work on some things right now to facilitate that possibly, but in design and other things, possibly maybe even for this show, I want to support T2 in a really in more of a way. So that's point one. Point two is there's been a lot of, I think, really harmful accusations thrown at gaming and video games in general recently in the wake of some pretty serious events that have happened with different shootings in our country. So I would just encourage you, everyone in this chat and everyone watching this on YouTube is someone who's involved in this space in some way. So I would just encourage you, I think the most dangerous thing we can do right now is let this just be numb. Like, just be like, we get blamed for stuff all the time in gaming. We're weird. Let's just forget about it. I think the thing we should do is the opposite. We should be prompted to act, whether that's just in our voting or in some kind of lobbying or something we do, or just speaking our opinion in whatever spheres we can in a healthy and productive way. I think we should do it, and I think we should engage that community and engage people who think differently than us on it. Slasher going on Fox News. I don't care what you think of Slasher or to a degree what you think of Fox News, but that was a good thing that happened. Again, I think Fox may be a part of the problem, but that's not really for this show. So yes, that's my thing, and sorry to end on a weird note. It's kind of hard to talk about, but it's been a great show, and we've had some good times. We had a crab rave about the boomers. That was exciting. We had a segment sponsored by hats. There's one of them.
Let's see how many I can get on.
We got 2 hats on. We got 2 hats on Zach's head.
All right,
now.
we got 2. We got 3.
Any bets?
I told you I have a lot of hats on my desk.
Oh, there's a.
Oh my god, you have almost as many snapbacks as I do.
I have even more in my closet. These are all just the ones that I wanted to keep out.
There's a lot of hats.
God, he's still going!
Oh my god, this is amazing.
Wait.
Look at this. What the heck? What are you at? Like 12?
I have lost count, but there's still more on my desk.
I don't know. I just.
Put my hood up, yeah. Connor, let's put our hoods up.
Yeah, I'm out of this.
The problem is I don't want to have to reach for them because I'm just gonna like topple this thing. Oh, can you even see it in frame at this point?
We're just memeing out right now. We're still on air, but we're just stunting right now.
All my hats
I'm going full gods right now.
He's still going. Cool.
I have more. I
Connor,
think I have like 4 more.
Oh my god, are you being
At
God?
least here on my desk.
Okay, Zach's at like 20 hats. I've got my hood on.
Oh, here we go. Oh, I have to reach.
Oh my gosh, look at Zach. Look at Zach's head.
Oh my god.
It is like,
I've
my
never
god.
on anything this much in my life. I have more.
Chaos is a ladder.
They're gonna...
Oh! Alright.
Chaos is a ladder.
Chaos is a ladder.
Chaos is a ladder.
I would do like a send-off, but I think we just need to end the episode. Chat, thanks so much. This has been a really fun one. Thanks for sticking with us through this. Come back next week if you enjoyed this. If not, we're really sorry. And tune into Thursday's show. It's much more normal. Cool. So, I guess Bye, and have a good week. Peace.
See ya.